You're traveling through the unknown, a journey beyond the corners of reality, where the shadows whisper and the chill runs deep. Welcome to the dimension where your deepest fears are given form. This is The Midnight Mystery.
Welcome to The Midnight Mystery. This episode is called The Kidnappers Game. In each episode, we delve into the shadowed corners of our existence, bringing you tales of the eerie, the uncanny, and the downright terrifying. From the realms of the supernatural to the depths of the human psyche, no stone is left unturned, no dark secret left hidden. As the clock once again draws near midnight, prepare to embark on another adventure into the uncanny, the eerie, the horrifying, the midnight mystery. I've spent my entire career calculating the odds. As a risk assessment expert for a prominent insurance company, I crunch numbers to predict the likelihood of car accidents, natural disasters, or medical emergencies. Life, to me, has always been a series of probabilities, equations to be solved. But some equations have no solutions, and I learned that the hard way. My daughter Sarah vanished one night. She's 16, a beautiful girl with her mother's smile and my stubbornness. She means the world to me, and when she didn't come home by her curfew, I started to worry. Calls to her phone went unanswered, text messages unread. The police said they couldn't do much until she'd been missing for 48 hours. Teenagers often run away, they told me. I knew Sarah. She wouldn't run away. Something was horribly wrong. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Unknown caller, the screen flashed. My heart pounded as I answered. Hello? Is this Mark? A raspy voice crackled on the other end. Who is this? Where's Sarah? Ah, straight to the point. I like that. I have your daughter. She's in a safe place for now. My blood ran cold. I gripped the phone tighter. If you hurt her... The man cut me off. You're in a position to negotiate, Mark. Do you want to play a game? I don't have time for games. I want my daughter back. You misunderstand. This game is for her. Guess where I've kept her, and I'll let you see her. What? This is insane. Is it? You're good at calculating odds, aren't you? So guess. Is she in the attic, the garage, the shed, or the basement? A chill ran down my spine. He knew about me, my job, my skills in assessing risks. It felt as though the walls were closing in. But then, the professional in me took over. I analyzed his voice, the background noises, any clue that might give him away. Basements are often used in kidnappings. They are isolated and easy to soundproof. The basement, I said, hoping my calculated guess was right. Correct, he chuckled, a sound that made my skin crawl. You'll find her at 47 Oak Ridge Lane. As I hung up, I felt a fleeting moment of relief, as if I'd cracked an impossible equation. I would soon learn how horribly wrong I was. But at that moment, I thought I'd beaten the odds, won the game. I rushed to my car, typing the address into the GPS, each second stretching into an eternity. Little did I know that I was driving into a trap of devastating cruelty, one that would make me question every choice I'd ever made. The car's engine roared as I sped down empty streets, my headlights slicing through the darkness. My mind was in overdrive, continuously assessing risks and strategies just like I would at work. But this wasn't some theoretical model or numbers on a spreadsheet. This was Sarah, my daughter. 47 Oak Ridge Lane turned out to be an old, decrepit house that looked like it hadn't seen inhabitants for years. The lawn was overgrown, windows shattered, and the front door creaked ominously in the wind. Everything screamed danger, but what choice did I have? The basement door was at the back of the house, partially concealed by overgrown bushes. It was locked with a rusty padlock that took a few strong kicks to break open. As I descended the creaky wooden steps into the abyss, my phone's flashlight was the only thing pushing back the complete darkness. The basement was a large, cluttered space filled with old furniture, boxes, and the musty scent of decay. My heart was pounding as I panned my light around, hoping to catch a glimpse of Sarah. And then I saw it. A separate room, closed off by another padlocked door. My hands were trembling as I broke the lock and pushed the door open. What I found inside shattered my world into irreparable pieces. It was Sarah's head, severed and placed on a table. The room also contained several other heads, each one belonging to a different missing person. I fell to my knees, overwhelmed by a tidal wave of despair and guilt. Every other choice would have been correct too. I had been played. I called the police, my voice barely above a whisper as I recounted what I'd found. They arrived within minutes, their faces turning ashen as they surveyed the horror. "Mark, I am so sorry," said Detective Lewis, a friend from our high school days. "We need to catch this sick bastard." He called me Lewis, played some twisted game with me, said I had to guess where Sarah was. I guessed right, or so I thought. "We'll trace the call, get forensics to go through this entire place. We'll get him, Mark." But as I stood there, surrounded by the chaos, a realization hit me like a sledgehammer. I had spent my whole life believing that choices had weight, that calculating the odds could bend fate in your favor. Yet, here I was, a living testament to the cruel randomness of life, where choices could be meaningless, and odds could never account for evil. And then my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. I answered, my hands trembling. "Congratulations, Mark," the voice sneered. "You won the first round. Ready for the next game?" I spent the next several days holed up in my home office, consumed by a single mission: to find the monster who took Sarah from me. Maps of the city were spread across my desk, alongside police reports, newspaper clippings of other kidnappings, and articles about serial killers. I was going to use my skills in risk assessment, data analytics, and pattern recognition to do what the police hadn't: find Sarah's killer. "Mark, you need to eat something," said my wife Emily, as she cautiously entered the room. I hadn't seen much of her since that dreadful day. I had isolated myself, both physically and emotionally. "I can't, Em. Not until I catch this guy." She sighed, her eyes filled with a blend of despair and understanding. "I miss her too, Mark, but destroying yourself won't bring her back." "I know," I murmured, "but it might bring him to justice." Poring over the data, I started noticing a pattern. Most of the kidnappings happened within a 5-mile radius of old industrial estates, likely places with abandoned buildings that could serve as hideouts. The kidnapper also seemed to strike on days with bad weather: rain, snow, fog, anything that would hamper immediate investigation. With these factors in mind, I used a geographic information system to cross-reference the locations of past incidents with weather data. I isolated a few possible areas where the kidnapper might strike next. I knew I was stepping far beyond legal boundaries and diving headlong into risky terrain, but at this point, I didn't care. "Detective Lewis, I've got something," I said, calling him on his direct line. "I found a pattern, narrowed down some potential locations. Mark, you should leave this to the professionals." "Like you left it to the professionals when my daughter was beheaded?" I snapped, regretting my words almost instantly. There was a pause. "Email me what you have," he finally said. I sent the information, but my gut told me that time was of the essence. Could I really wait for bureaucracy and red tape to catch up? No. I had to act now. My phone buzzed again. Unknown caller. "Ready for the next game?" The kidnapper's voice oozed malice. "I'm ending this," I growled. "Oh, it's far from over, Mark." I clenched my fists. If this was a game to him, it was one he was about to lose. I grabbed my coat and headed for the door, the weighted dice of fate in my pocket. This time the odds would be in my favor, or so I hoped. Driving through the torrential rain, my car's windshield wipers worked tirelessly to give me a clear view. But my mind was anything but clear. Against all reason, I was headed to the old industrial estate, one of the locations my data had flagged as high risk, a place where I believed the kidnapper would strike next. Upon arrival, I parked my car a safe distance away and took cover behind an old shipping container. My trap was simple: a fake call to the police about suspicious activity in the area, set to broadcast from a burner phone I'd placed in one of the abandoned buildings. If the kidnapper was monitoring police frequencies, which I suspected he was, he'd hear it and hopefully investigate. I didn't have to wait long. A car pulled up, its headlights flickering in the rain-soaked darkness. A man stepped out, hood pulled over his face. I felt a mix of dread and anticipation course through my veins. Gripping the crowbar I'd brought with me, I waited until he was close enough. Then, with a surge of adrenaline, I lunged at him, crowbar aimed at his head. He dodged just in time, producing a knife from his pocket. What followed was a brutal, life-or-death struggle. My crowbar met his knife, metal clashing against metal, each of us fighting with a ferocious intensity. Finally, using every ounce of my strength, I swung the crowbar into his knee. He screamed, collapsing to the ground. Not wasting a moment, I kicked the knife out of his hand and pinned him down, my hands trembling as I dialed 911. "Police are on their way," I seethed, looking into the kidnapper's twisted eyes. "It's over." When the police arrived, they found enough evidence in the kidnapper's car to link him to Sarah and the other victims. Handcuffs were slapped on his wrists, and he was taken away, his reign of terror finally at an end. Detective Lewis approached me, his face a blend of relief and disbelief. "You did it, Mark. You actually did it." I felt a numbness wash over me. "At what cost, Lewis? At what cost?" "We'll make sure he rots in jail for the rest of his life," Lewis assured me. But as I stood there, drenched in rain and exhausted to my core, I realized that some costs are too high, some games too cruel to win. I had stopped a monster, but in the process, I'd ventured into my own darkness, questioning every choice I'd ever made. And for what? A Pyrrhic victory, one that brought no joy, only the cold satisfaction of revenge. The courtroom was packed, tension hanging in the air like a thick fog. When the judge read the verdict, guilty on all counts, a murmur spread through the crowd, some sighing in relief, others weeping softly. The kidnapper was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. After the court was adjourned, Detective Lewis approached me. "You should feel proud, Mark. You've done what the police couldn't." I forced a smile. Justice is served, I suppose. I left the courthouse, the weight of the world still heavy on my shoulders. I drove aimlessly for a while, eventually finding myself at the cemetery where Sarah was buried. Her tombstone was simple. "Beloved daughter, forever in our hearts." I placed a bouquet of roses, her favorite, on the grave. "Hey, kiddo," I whispered, choking back tears. "I did it. We got him. He won't hurt anyone else." I paused, my voice quivering. "I wish it could have been different, Sarah. I wish I'd been smarter, faster, better. I wish..." But wishes were pointless. Sarah was gone, and nothing could bring her back. Still, standing there, I found a strange sense of closure. My daughter could rest, and other daughters would be safe from the monster who'd taken her from me. I returned home, a house now haunted by Sarah's laughter, her dreams, her spirit. Photos of her filled the rooms. Her drawings still stuck to the fridge. I walked into her room. It remained untouched, a sanctuary of memories. Her books, her clothes, her sketches, all preserved in time, as if she might walk through the door at any moment. It was agonizing, but it was also comforting. As I sat down in the living room, my eyes fell upon a family photo taken last summer. We were all there, smiling, blissfully unaware of the storm that would soon hit us. I pondered the cruel randomness of life. In my career, I had always sought patterns, believing that if we could understand the variables, we could control the outcome. But life had other plans. Some things were beyond calculation, beyond understanding. I picked up the photo, holding it up, as if trying to absorb the happiness that once was. I set it back down, a lump forming in my throat. We all made choices, gambled on odds, calculated risks. But at the end of the day, the universe had its own agenda, inscrutable and indifferent to our desires or fears. The house was quiet, too quiet. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I'd been avoiding for days. My wife Emily's. "Hey," I started, my voice fragile. "I think it's time we talk." "About Sarah?" "About everything. Life is too random, too fragile to let it pass by without acknowledging its worth." "Where are you going with this, Mark?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I do know that while I can't bring Sarah back, I've ensured that no one else suffers her fate. And for that, I find a semblance of peace." "That's a start," Emily said softly. "Yes," I replied, "a start." I hung up the phone and stared again at the family photo. There would always be voids that couldn't be filled, equations with no solutions, choices that led to unfathomable outcomes. But there would also be moments of love, of redemption, and perhaps, just perhaps, a chance for new beginnings. I closed my eyes, taking in a deep breath. Life was uncertain, precarious, and terribly random. But it was also priceless, and for the first time since Sarah's disappearance, I found myself clinging onto it, cherishing it for all its messy, unpredictable beauty. I hope you enjoyed our episode. I'd like to extend a heartfelt thanks to you, our brave listeners. Your presence in this shared journey into the unknown is what fuels our stories. Your fascination is our motivation. Did this episode send chills down your spine? Then leave your comments, your thoughts and theories, your own midnight mysteries. Your feedback is the beacon that guides us through the uncharted territories of our stories. And if you haven't already, remember to subscribe to our channel. By joining the Midnight Mystery family, you won't miss out on a single chilling tale. As a subscriber, you'll be the first to know when a new episode lurks around the corner, ready to pull you back into the shadowy depths of the unknown. This is the Midnight Mystery signing off, leaving you with a simple reminder. When the clock strikes 12, fear the silence, for that's when our tales come to life. Good night, Midnight listeners, and remember, not all who wander into the dark are lost.